Hello everybody and welcome to TOT&HAM, the weekly show from PlanetFPL where we talk about West Ham and Tottenham. My name's Suj.
My name is James.
We talk about West Ham and Tottenham specifically because James supports Spurs, I support West Ham, and otherwise we'd take up too much time in our main weekly show talking about it.
Yeah, you thought the VAR rant was big.
Yeah, well, we'll start with West Ham. I mean, I predicted a loss at Burnley at the weekend. We've just come off the back of 3-0. Should have been 5-0, maybe even a little more. Chris Wood's goal, the one that was disallowed, I mean, was marginal. You probably say, yeah, it was, but marginal. None of this daylight between the players stuff going on there. We had 60% possession, which is unsurprising because once Burnley are kind of 2 or 3 up, they're going to just lay off, sit back and lay off a little bit. But architects of our own doom. I mean, Roberto lobbing the ball out the way he did for Balbuena to turn for the second goal was just asking for trouble. That own goal was probably the poorest own goal you'll see all season. I mean, I suppose any own goal is when the ball's not going in the net, you put it in your own, but it was really not going in the net. So that was pretty poor. He's definitely the worst goalkeeper in the league. I think there's no debate about that. And Ben Mee's goal, in my opinion, should have stood.
Ben Mees?
Yeah, the header. He scored at the end. Roberto fell over.
Oh, did they have another goal disallowed? Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was disallowed for a foul. It wasn't VAR, but they said it was a foul. But in my opinion, Roberto
you get the sympathy vote after the
fell
last
over.
one.
Yeah, exactly. And you could tell when it was another corner, right? And it was after he'd fluffed the original one. There was the ready for the keeper to fuck it up again. All in all, a predictable bad day in the office. On top of that, Noble's done his ankle. Lanzini's undergone surgery today for a cracked collarbone.
Ouch.
Yeah, he's not back until the new year for sure. Fabianski's not back till the new year for sure. We're playing poorly. We're at 2 places above the relegation zone, 5 points, but Watford are on a bit of a resurgence at the moment.
1 win.
Well, they have kept 3 clean sheets out of the last 5. They are getting better. They're making progress. And Villa sit in between us and Watford. It's not looking good. There's an article on the BBC website this morning, Pellegrini to be given time to turn it around at West Ham, which is a strange article to have on the BBC website. Because
why is it strange?
It doesn't say anywhere that the club have issued a statement. It just as vaguely says Pellegrini's going to get given time to turn it around. But it doesn't say where it's come from. It's just an article that says Pellegrini's been given more time. So it's not like the club have released an official statement, because that's the final nail in anyone's coffin when the club issues a statement of confidence or vote of confidence or whatever in the manager. Bad times. We've got Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal, all before Christmas. Bad times.
I'd like to, at this point out that we are pre-recording this on Monday. And the reason I want to point that out is, although I find it unlikely, I wouldn't be surprised if at any moment it was announced that Pellegrini was gone.
I don't think we're at that stage. If I'm honest with you, I don't think we're at that stage. I don't think the board are that fed up with him or pissed off with him. But no wins in 7. And we've just lost to Palace, Newcastle, Everton, and now obviously at the weekend at Burnley. No, those sides are all more than good enough to beat us, but we are also capable of getting results in those games if we play to our potential. So something's not right, mate. Something is not right. Fornals has been a disappointment and was again at the weekend. So, difficult times.
The results since the Man United fixture make very, very grim reading.
They do.
I think it's grim that we don't know.
You don't need to read them out. I know where what's been happening.
It's 2 points from the last 6 in the league during a run where, kind of pre-season, we would have looked up to the PlanetFPL derby on Saturday week and said, what an amazing run of fixtures that West Ham have. That amazing run of fixtures on paper now appears to be coming to an end, although I will know that West Ham will turn up against Spurs. And I don't doubt that they will in games coming up afterwards. You got a few London derbies, haven't you? Chelsea, Arsenal.
Arsenal's a Monday night game, so yeah, we're up for that.
I'm
Chelsea,
sure
that's
you'll
not
probably
televised,
turn
is
up
it,
on
Chelsea?
them. What's concerning now is a couple of things. The results stretch back to Fabianski's injury.
Correct.
Which I think highlights a deeper rooted problem in the fact that, yeah, look, I mean, Roberto made 10 saves, by the way, at the weekend. And it's not
Top
the first
BPS.
time. He made a shitload of saves against Everton as well. They've got no confidence in him defensively, which
for sure.
means you get deeper and deeper.
That was one of the things that was mentioned in the BBC article. Again, it said that it's vague. It doesn't quote any sources, but it says the defense have no confidence in the keeper from sources inside the club, which is vague and vague.
Well, if you look at that third goal, I don't know how you could have any confidence in that. It's just disastrous, mate. Noble's injury will be a concern because in spite of perhaps limitations, I think he started the season very well,
Yeah,
by
but
the way.
he hasn't been good in the last few.
No, but he's the leader on the pitch, will get the team up for a game like Tottenham. And
Yeah.
Lanzini, who...
But Noble could quite easily be all right by that. It's a sprained ankle at the moment.
Lanzini also... He's the best creative player in my opinion. I know you don't necessarily share that view. He will never get the attacking returns of, say, an Anderson or Malenko, but I think essentially he has the ability to dictate the game of football. And I don't see Fornals being ready to do that for you yet.
Fornals can't. Last 15 minutes against Newcastle, Lanzini was good. Yeah, no doubt.
So presumably, if Noble's out, it goes back to what, Snodgrass with Rice? Is that the obvious one?
Don't forget Super Jack, mate.
I was going to say,
Don't forget Super Jack.
I bet he plays against us and he's unbelievable. He's
It's
so
written in
typical.
the stars.
Probably.
He'll be amazing for 85 minutes and then hobble off. I think Wilshere might be knocking on the door, but I'd play Snodgrass, Rice, Yarmolenko, Anderson, and Haller up front.
Yeah, I'd go with that. What do we think of Valera at the moment? It's gone very quiet, hasn't it?
Well, he's got no support. He's just isolated. He's so isolated at the moment.
But he should never have been that in this run of fixtures, in my opinion.
No, we need to get players close to him, runners close to him. We're just not. And when we played against Newcastle, Yarmolenko is stuck to the touchline for such large parts of the game. Yeah, it's just great individuals not performing as a team at the moment. But it's fine. Pellegrini goes. We'll get Jose and we'll be fine. Jose Mourinho.
You got any thoughts on... I know Yarmolenko got hauled off at half-time against Newcastle. Obviously didn't play.
No.
He seemed to create the one very good chance that you did have with Aaron Cresswell coming in on the back post. Thoughts on him not playing and assuming these injuries, I think we can safely say Lanzini's is bad. Does he automatically come back in the team?
I think Yarmolenko will. I actually think he will play against you guys. The last international breaks when he just came back and then he did miss the game straight after the international break. But that's Pellegrini said at the time, look, he's had a long-term injury and he's played 2 games in a week for Ukraine. We're not going to just chuck him straight back in again, which is understandable. Fine, I get that. Whether or not he's still trying to nurse him back to full fitness, but 100%, I don't know. But he did get hauled off at half-time. So maybe he's struggling a little bit, but I think he'll play against you guys.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he didn't. I think...
He won't be in my FPL team by that point, probably. But
You keep saying that.
He will still play against you guys, probably.
Is there any case for any of the listeners who are into their FPL keeping any West Ham assets?
No. A lot of people still sitting on Haller. We got tagged in a tweet just now. I don't actually remember who was saying that should he keep a player just to have a little bit of interest in a Premier League game. He's talking about the Haller situation against Spurs. I'm like, no, you don't keep a player just to keep yourself entertained in a football match. No, not at all. And that's not to say he may not. He may return. He may not. There's better value elsewhere. Simple as that. I mean, Chris Wood you'd take at the moment, or Barnes over Haller for sure.
I can't argue that. I've got no defence on it. I think absolutely if you own West Ham assets, come off.
Yep.
Even in spite of the fact they're playing us next.
Yeah, forget about it. I told you earlier that you can't bet against your own team. I don't think that's good form. but 2.5 goal handicap to Spurs. And you think I'm crazy because we do turn up for that game. Trust me, 2.5 goal handicap to Spurs is a good shout. I wonder what the odds are on that.
Just clarify, are you suggesting we're going to come to your place and batter you?
3 or 4.
Okay, this is where I step into the conversation.
3 or 4.
Suja's obviously not been watching my team much. I don't
as
see.
I said, I did watch. I thought Son was quite lively. I didn't think the Celso was bad.
Terrific.
Your centre back pairing of Sanchez and Dyer is
Dyer
bad, but then no, it's funny. I asked you an interesting question when we were driving in, right? Because you have just come off the back of that 4-0 win away at Red Star. So would Sheffield United beat Red Star?
Yeah, battered
them. You
them.
said easy, straightforward.
Battered them.
Would West Ham beat Red Star?
Yes.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that gives me some answer, but I don't think your centre back pairing will be Sanchez
you wouldn't batter them.
Dyer.
I bet you'd lose in Belgrade. If you'd beat them at home, but you'd probably lose in Belgrade.
Fine.
If that gives you some kind of
indication,
insight into how bad Red Star were, fucking toilet, mate. It is, unfortunately, every time you get a good feeling with Spurs at the moment, it really is one step forward and 2 back. Saturday was incredibly disappointing for me. We're not doing VAR now, we've done it. It was incredibly disappointing because it was a fascinating game to watch tactically. And that's because of full credit to Chris Wilder and Sheffield United for the way they applied themselves in the game. They are probably very close to the best side in transition in the league at the moment. Honestly, I go that big. The way they are coached, they are performing well above the sum of their parts. And this is where part of the frustration comes in with Spurs, because if I look at that Sheffield United side, there is a case for some of them to get in that Spurs team.
Fullbacks,
but not,
struggle with the fullbacks.
To be honest, Stevens and Baldock could both come and play for me. Happy days.
Yeah.
You could make a case currently for the centre halves. I think you could make a case for the midfield 3. But that shouldn't be the case.
No.
I'm now looking at people like Fleck and Lundstrom and looking at it and going,
Norwood.
I do like Oliver Norwood. And thinking, could they get in my team? And the answer probably man to man is probably no. But the way they're performing at the moment and the way they're applying themselves is exceptional.
The second thing you said there is the thing, the way they're applying themselves, which is why when I look at my team, I'm like, just hard work. You just want hard work and effort, and we don't get that.
The huge disappointment for me watching Sheffield United was you can see a very clear vision of how they're going to play. They were incredibly brave. I have no idea from you said you watched the whole of game of the day on Saturday night.
Not all, but I had it on in the background. Yeah, I was watching bits.
But the way they play tactically, offensively and defensively, they are drilled on pinpoint in terms of where they're going to be and how they're going to play and how they're going to approach things. So common things you already perhaps know is this overlapping centre-back theory. To see it live is quite something else, actually. So there was periods in the game, I'll give you a great example, particularly O'Connell as a left-sided centre-half does this incredibly well. I think it's not done quite so well on the other side with Basham and Baldock, which is why I think actually you may see on touch maps and average positions that Baldock's quite often higher than Stevens because O'Connell was quicker to get out there. So they'll give you a perfect example. There's a stage in the game where they had the ball on the right, so Basham's gone with Baldock down the right-hand side. And it comes back inside to Egan, who rather than, and this is a mistake Spurs do quite often, they played a shorter pass first rather than bypassing someone. Sheffield United will bypass and go straight to the wing back quicker if they can. It's not long diagonals like you may see sort of TAA and Robbo playing for each other. It's low drilled, let's get it out there. The second that Egan plays the ball in Stevens' direction, O'Connell goes. Mm-hmm. There is no second thought. There was a point in the game in the first half, obviously at 0-0, about half hour gone, and they literally left Egan one-on-one with Kane because they were brave and they believed in themselves. And the play broke down, and the second it broke down, Basham was back in and they were a 2. Without the ball, they're essentially a back 5. With it, they are a back three that almost converts into a 2-4-4. They are the way they move and maneuver the ball, and that's where the midfield three come into effect, because they're the runners that will push on as well. They will leave themselves open, but then they don't. So they do things tactically that are clever. One of the things we spoke with Tomo at FPL Blade when he come on before they played Liverpool was the concern of, say, Firmino dropping into that whole area. So Spurs lined up with Ali at 10, basically in a 4-2-3-1, as we had been doing progressively for the last few games. And little things that you can see they have been trained on during the week. So Spurs attack a goal kick. Moussa and McGoldrick are happy for the two centre-halves to receive it, but they set traps. So as soon as the pass gets played, a little bit like with Liverpool, they'll put the pressure onto the receiver rather than the pressure of... They're happy to know that Sanchez and Dyer from deep centre-half positions are not going to open them up. And without the ball, they'll go deep enough so there's no ball over the top. So the problem area for them is sort of Ali in that hole. That got changed after half hour because it wasn't working. One of the things they were doing so clever was Basham, who's the right-sided centre-half, was coming in to basically man-mark Ali, and they'd go for a back four. And then as soon as they won it back, it'd go back into a back three, and the wing-backs would then push back on. Fascinating to watch, because it's not something that I'd picked up on previously. And interesting that it wasn't the central player, Egan, that would go with Ali. It was Basham. Mm-hmm. So then they'd slot across. So Egan would become the right-sided centre-half of a back four. And there's constant rotation in the positioning and the way they play. It's really, really good. They are far better than the sum of their parts. And the frustrating bit is they're clearly getting really well coached. My team isn't. And this is now where it becomes a real concern, where I have to sit back and look at that and go, okay, fine, this has been shit for a year. Pochettino's built up enough good grace. And I'm not saying get rid or anything like that, but I am now having to start looking at it and going, my players either aren't being coached properly, or their confidence and quality levels are so bad that there's just no instant recovery on it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think Spurs
Don't cry.
were that bad. Talk to me from an FPL point of view.
No, we weren't that bad. It's Sheffield United were very, very good. Yeah.
And they were, even against us, they were just so organised. And you knew they had a system that they were playing to, which was particularly good. There are people that own Spurs assets, not many, admittedly. Harry Kane has not been performing for a little while. It was interesting. I dived in on Sam and Lee's stream yesterday evening, as I like to do, for a little bit. Sam was actually going to captain Harry Kane and didn't. Well, she set Vardy up as our captain in the middle of the week, didn't realise it was a Friday deadline, and had followed her rule of never changing captain on the day of the deadline, and so left it on Vardy. But actually, for her, who's doing particularly well this season, to think about captaining Kane says something. He hasn't performed for a while. But Son has been doing okay. I've owned him for 5 weeks now. I've had 3 or 4 returns out of him. Spurs aren't playing badly, but I still don't think coming off Son is necessarily a bad thing.
There are 3 Spurs assets in seriousness you consider. One is Son.
Mm-hmm.
The other 2 are Gazaniga because of his price, and Aurier because of his price. You'll have to put up probably with some rotation with Aurier against Foyth in that position, but you'll probably be okay. I don't see too many clean sheets from Spurs, but cheap budget player. But look, he's not a better choice than other players like Sionchu and Tomori and in that kind of area. So generally would be ignore. Sonny, you still can. He's working hard. He's scoring goals. To go back to Kane, it's exactly kind of what I'd said in terms of, we had a question on the main pod last week about, getting back in now. I'm like, nah, because if you get him in, you can't really not captain him in that fixture. As good as Sheffield United have been, you'll look at it on paper and it's so hard to look away from. And I knew that this was going to be such a challenging fixture because of the way they set up. Kane was very quiet. You could say non-existent. I don't think it was his fault. There's no quality in behind. Lo Celso was probably the real bright spark I felt for Spurs, in that he kept going. He played the full 90 minutes. he was the longer the game went on, the deeper he got, the more he went and looked for it, which I like because it showed a responsibility in terms of, okay, I need to step up, and it wasn't particularly coming off for him, but he was trying. Noticeable that even in the situation, Eriksen still wasn't brought on, and Dombele, who I praised after the Red Star game, this was back to it's one good game, one bad game. I'm not quite sure how he made it 45 minutes. He's clearly very good on the ball. He's so short of fitness. I mean, they were just running beyond him every time, Lundstrom and Fleck. The first thing he did was give the ball away inside the first minute. And Pochettino said this in the past. He can tell in the first minute if Spurs will win or not. I could tell in the first minute of the weekend we weren't winning.
You would have never convinced me at the start of the season that we'd be 12 games in, and in our differential team, we can have the pick of any Spurs player apart from Harry Kane, because there's not a single one over. I mean, Son's second highest ownership at 7.3%. No one else is above.
He's very good differential. He's also pricey, right?
9.6 million at the moment. The thing with Son is that he was the make weight for me to get Sadio Mane in, and I think Mane will score more points. I just don't know if it's justifiable as a £2.4 million additional cost for Sadio Mane over Son. Screwed up by the fact that Jamie Vardy and Tammy Abraham are offering us fantastic captaincy options elsewhere. Like, if I needed a premium captaincy option for the next 6 to 8 weeks, then I would want Mane. He'd be the first one I'd go to, but I don't think I need that premium captaincy option. So then spreading the money around a little bit, like if I don't move from Son to Mane, means that Malenko can become Pulisic, for example, rather than having to go sideways to McGinn or Grealish or Trossard or what have you. And I think Malenko to Pulisic and keep Son versus Son to Mane might be better off in the long term. So I feel like I'm going to stick on Sonny, and I think after last week's obviously really traumatic situation to come and score 3 goals in a week, he's there. His game's there. He was taking shots. I think he was also trying to make things happen. He probably took more shots than he needed to from outside the box and stuff, but he was trying to make things happen.
I think we're both in a position, Suj, where we're both really concerned currently with the way our team's being coached. And it's all well and good saying that Spurs have got decent fixtures coming up. And yes, hold Son. If you've got Son, you don't need to come off or anything like that. I wouldn't recommend going into Bayern. And obviously, by the way, I think they play on the Tuesday in the international break. But because of the travel distance, there is always the possibility that he won't play in the league game afterwards, and it is 12:30 on the Saturday against you. I'm looking at games coming up, home fixtures for Spurs that goes on for quite a while now. So after West Ham, our next home game is Bournemouth, Eddie Howe, good coach. Next game after that at home, Burnley, Sean Dyche, good coach. Then it's Chelsea at home 2 weeks after that, Frank Lampard, good coach. Boxing Day, home to Brighton against Potter, good coach. After that, next home game after that's Liverpool. Yeah, Klopp's all right. And it's really concerning me at the moment that although some of them fixtures look good on paper, I feel like we might be out-coached. I can't believe that I'm saying that about Pochettino, because we had such an identity in that 16-17 season in terms of the aggression, the pace, whether it was a 4-2-3-1 or 3-4-2-1, it didn't really matter. You knew Spurs were going to come at you. I don't know. I'm not saying it's time for change, but my eyes are starting to, unfortunately, be open to the idea that the only way to recover this might be to do that. That said, I feel like he's earned the time to fix it. And in terms of a league season, we're finished. Like, we won't go down, but we ain't finishing for top 4.
No, and even top 6 is going to be a challenge.
Do we even want it? Is it better to have the year out and then a little bit like, get in younger players again, have that season of no European football and try and commit to it? Me personally, I go back to what the great Bill Nicholson said, and in terms of like this football club has to be playing European football. So I would rather be in it and blood youngsters in the Europa League. that's just a personal opinion. But would it matter if we were fucking without it for a year? No,
No.
not really. I think with all the TV money now, the great fear with not finishing Champions League is you're going to lose players. But like these players ain't good enough at the moment. So if someone wants to come and bid 100 million for Son, it's Real Madrid or Barcelona or something, and he wants to go, like, fine, replace.
Take the money. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a few that are still on the
there's,
list to
there's
leave
nobody
anyway.
there's nobody in that squad now who, like, a couple of years ago, we would have feared almost the whole starting 11, like, you know, from Toby to Jan to the fullbacks to higher up the pitch, people like Ali. We would have feared any of them. Now you'd only look at it and go, I don't believe Kane will leave because I feel like he's desperate to be Tottenham's record goal scorer. But other than that, like, people want to go, fuck off.
Yeah.
It's time to rebuild.
There is murmurings across North London as well. So you're talking about your manager potentially being out of a job. Arsenal, if you're at a 4 out of 10, they're at a 9.5 out of 10 with Emery at the moment.
How well, in terms of the manager, they're well above us in the league.
No.
So.
In terms of the manager being on his way out, I think we're somewhere about 5 or 6 at the moment.
Yeah, but then that's the culture of that football club, isn't it?
What do you think? I don't know. They're not a sacking club.
No, not the club, because I actually think they'll stick with him.
Yeah.
The culture is of the supporters. That's the solution, because that's how they've got now. We get Wenger out, it's no better. Right, get this guy out. Is the next guy going to be better?
I don't know if you can.
I feel like,
I don't know if it is the culture of the club. I mean, it's been they had years and years of having to put up with Wenger. That it became
that
a bit
was
of
so
a
bad. The
repetitive.
20 years of Wenger, wasn't it?
No, in the last 4 or 5, where once you've laid your flag in the ground and you said kind of, okay, I want the manager out. They had to keep banging that drum for ages because he wasn't being fired. I can see why they want Emery out. I can see it. Like, that squad should be doing way better than it is, in my opinion. They've got talent there. I think they've got a really good squad.
The rumour is that Emery signed, I don't know if it's true or not, a 2-year contract with an automatic option to extend that contract, but they could break for after the 2 years with essentially no compensation or anything.
That's the end of the season.
It's rumoured, though, that if they sack him, it will cost them £15 million.
Yeah, but that's small change in the grand scheme of not getting Champions League and stuff like that.
But are they, whatever they do, are they going to finish above Leicester or Chelsea?
No,
I can't see it.
No, not the form that those two are in, which we'll talk about in the main podcast today for sure. But Jose's coming in somewhere in north to east London. Jose's got 3 jobs there that potentially could become available. Would you take him?
No, I wouldn't want it.
I'd take him.
Yeah, we've spoken about it would be beneficial for you. Get that winning mentality in the club.
I'd take it for sure.
I don't know if Mourinho would walk into Tottenham or Arsenal and have the magic effect that he's had instantly at other places. You know, even in the first season at United, he won the League Cup and Europa League, right?
They finished second, right? Or was that the year after?
Year after, I think.
But
they won the Europa League, didn't they, to get back in the Champions League? I think they finished 5th. I'm not sure, because of the stuff at Tottenham and Arsenal and their preconceived ideas, like I feel on Mourinho, that it would work. I think he's obviously still an incredibly astute defensive coach. I think Spurs need to be coached the way some of these up-and-coming managers like Wilder and Potter are coaching their sides and getting far more out of some of their parts than they've got. Could it have an initial effect where we'd look back on it a couple of years later and go, oh yeah, it's only been 2 years since we won a trophy? Yeah, maybe. It's never long-term sustainability with Mourinho. I would be against it. However, were something to happen with Levy and Pochettino that it broke off, I'm telling you, Levy will go for Mourinho. I already know that. I find that quite frightening.
There's not a lot of love in the red side of North London as well for Mourinho, just because of the things he said about that club.
Worse for them.
The disrespect and the they take that as personal. I think people forget very quickly and move on. So there we go. Interesting chat today about both clubs. I feel like we're less ranty now and it's more resigned to
acceptance.
Yeah. I really wasn't looking forward to doing this show this week, I'll be honest with you. Where we spoke last week, you said you enjoy it, and I was like, well, it's a chance to get stuff off my chest. At the moment, I'm just a punch bag for my club. I'm like, you know what? I'm resigned to losing week in, week out. I checked the odds, mate. Tottenham to win and more than 2.5 goals, 17-10, almost 2-1. It's worth a fiver.
You mean 8.5 to 1?
But almost 17-10.
Oh, 17-10, not 17-2.
No, 17-10.
17-10. Yeah, 1.7 to 1. Yeah.
Yeah, so almost 2-1. Cheeky fiver for someone other than me.
I don't know what he's talking about. Listen, basically, we're just in a battle for which one of us is worse.
Yeah.
I do still think it's you, by the way.
Yeah, we are worse.
My dad said to me at half time of the week, he said, "Seen the scores?" I said, "Yeah." It's all got West Ham in the world, haven't we?
Yeah. Well, it's funny how we spin it the other way. I was like, if we've had that bad a season, how are we only 1 point behind you?
I have no idea.
How are we only 1 point behind you after?
I have to say, obviously, look, it's PlanetFPL Derby in 11 days from the release of this podcast, and it's massive. The loser is going to be looking over a shoulder.
100%.
Which is why you can put your money on now for a draw.
Well, James
I
works
think the fear
well.
of losing right now will be bigger for both than the goal to win the game.
Yeah, I just think with your attacking threat and Son getting in behind them, the pace that you have with him and Ali will cause us way more problems than a static Haller is ever going to cause you.
Someone in that team's got to find Son or Ali.
Yeah, someone will. I think we'll only have a chance of set pieces, if anything. But you know what? It's 11 days away. I'm still a little bit irritated after the weekend.
The one advice I'd be
3-0.
giving my boys for that game in 11 days, shoot on sight, lads.
Yeah. That's true, actually, yeah. We've got David Martin. Maybe he should play. He'll get given more leeway. You know, he's Alvin Martin's son, right?
Is that right?
Yeah. I didn't know that until the other day as well. It's Alvin Martin's son is that keeper. So he'll be given a little bit more.
Do you think? Wasn't this guy back up at Millwall? I'm not sure it's the answer.
He will.
It's like people all the time, change the players at Spurs. Yeah, but are the replacements any better? Is it going to be better?
Can he be worse than Roberto? Is it?
I don't know, man. Isn't he like from the Burnley and Everton away games? Hasn't he made like 20 saves or something?
Yeah, you have to look at the quality of these.
You've got to be looking at some of the problems in front of him as well, right?
Yeah. The way Tarkowski just bundled over Rice at the back post for Barnes' goal was not good enough. But
said the man who admitted in his interview after the game, Declan Rice, that he got bullied.
Yeah.
Why are you that's a different podcast.
I mean,
why are you admitting that? Just come out and say
he's honest, right?
Yeah, but don't. It's a dumb thing to do.
He's too honest as a player. I've said it before.
Right, because as soon as you say, "Oh, we got bullied today," what does every fan think?
Didn't work.
Why?
Enough. Yeah.
Why did we get bullied then?
Yeah.
I say, we decided 90 minutes into the game. Do you know what? Fuck, lads, we're getting bullied here. Like, even if you think that, don't say that. Just say, look, performance was unacceptable today. We've got a big game in 2 weeks. We'll try and put it right. Don't. I mean, we won't bully you, in fairness, but certainly
it was the same situation against Everton.
You go to Wolves in a couple of weeks. It's going to be a tough away game, isn't it?
But it's not going to be bullied in any sense. They'll stand off us.
You say that, but they've got physical players as well, mate.
Yeah, at the back, but not in midfield.
And Jimenez up front. Traore's not physical, is he?
I love watching him yesterday. I was like, fuck, mate. If he didn't want to play football, he could be an MMA fighter or something. That guy is a beast.
He is a monster, mate.
I would not
technical quality starting to show with him.
Oh, the number of times that he just knocked it on and just that 5 yards of pace, I was like, he's not going to keep that in. Bang, he was gone. He is rapid, mate.
Yeah,
rapid.
He might be moving here from crapid to rapid with Adama Traore.
I think he is. I think he's done his time in the crapid list now. Let's wrap this up before we keep chatting forever. Thank you for listening to Tottenham, the weekly show with James and I vent about Tottenham and West Ham. Hopefully, before the end of the season, there'll be a few more positive shows than the few negative ones we've had so far.
Yeah, the rest should be a bit more fun.
Yes. And if this was a bit too negative for you, tune in tomorrow with Paul at Sky Player and FPL for Planet Sky FF, where we talk about Sky Fantasy Football. That's going to be a nice listen. Top lad is Paul, and we'll be running down James and I's mistakes in Sky Fantasy Football.
We think. I don't know what happens if Paul comes on. He goes, "Lads, you're playing well, no mistakes." Is that the end of the podcast? Because I don't know what he's going to come up with.
I haven't logged in and checked how many points I got this weekend, so no, there's definitely mistakes to be found. And then we've got Clash of the Correspondents this week with FPL Pringle and Rotation FPL. That is Johnny and Ted before the Manchester City-Chelsea game. We're 10 days out from that, but we'll still be running down that. Followed by a Planet FPL special. Why don't you tell everybody about that?
On Friday, we will be doing a podcast we've been planning to do for some time on racism in football, looking at it past, present, future, what's changed, what needs to change, possible solutions in terms of repercussions for national sides, club sides. There was another horrific incident with Tyson of Shakhtar Donetsk in the Ukraine at the weekend that we'll talk about. We're going to attack it from what we are, fans.
Correct. Other than that, thanks for all the interaction on Twitter and YouTube. Do leave comments below if you're watching on YouTube, or tweet at PlanetFPL Pod at Sujan Shah. We appreciate all of that kind of stuff. Other than that, ciao for now.
Cue music, man, child. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Irons. Disappointing Irons.